We next have with us Mr. Sanjay Jamble, the Delivery Head, India and Asia Pacific, TCS Digital Enterprise. An alumnus of IIT Kharagpur, he has over 21 years of professional work experience. Mr. Jamble heads digital initiatives across the globe. The digital delivery areas under him are mobility, pervasive computing, analytics, big data and consulting, and social. He also handles cloud, AI and robotics, user experience, and creative design. He's passionate about delivering solutions and services to enable our customers achieve business excellence in this evolving digital world and to achieve customer delight. Can we now hear for Mr. Jamble? And I request him to share his views. Thank you.
Very good morning. I go by what Venu was saying, right? Being more and more letters you come, most of the points are covered. But thank God, I think Manish, you set up very good base, giving some very fantastic numbers. Both sirs have set up very good tone on what is expected around it. So luckily, my part is coming from the practical experiences of doing the digital consulting for last several years across various digital forces. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to focus on three aspects of it. One is how we are differentiating the digital initiatives in recent times. Very quick view on it, which I think Manish touched a little bit on that. I'll just expand on that. Then second part is what is the impact of this digital consulting on 6 specific areas, what I think is important and how it is impacting, maybe with some industry examples based on our experiences. And then later I will try to see what is expected in tomorrow's world as a consultant and what is different than others, which already some of you have touched around how the consulting is disturbing itself, right? So some aspects of that I'll try to cover. The very first part, which is the digital. So if you see, as some of our guests said very well, digitization is not just the digital. It started long back, and original consulting was, or initial consulting was more focused on how I can digitize any of the businesses in the best possible way. And most of the consulting were focused on those in early days. And in last 5 to 8 years, when the digital forces have emerged, I don't need to repeat those names of the forces. So when the digital forces have been emerged, the most of the focus in last 5 to 7 years has come. Whatever has been developed in last 40, 50 years in a digital world, how we can transform that more integrated, more consolidated, more outcome-driven kind of a solutions. So most of the energy in last 5 to 8 years was transformational. You take a channels, you take a commerce, if you take customer experience, if you take big data and all was transformation from legacy kind of systems built into, businesses built into to the kind of new age solutions. So that is the second way of most of the consulting was happening in a transformation field. And what I call third field of transformation today happening, which is digital initiatives, what we name internally within TCS is digital reimagination. So what it means is, because of these multiple digital forces, if you combine them together, 2 or more forces, it is giving us opportunity to do fundamentally something different, create fundamentally something new, or change entirely what is happening currently with a drastic business outcome. And to do that reimagination, that is a different level of initiatives, and that is required different level of consulting. And my last point, when I come back, what level of consulting is required for that, I'll touch but a little bit around that. But that is where the consulting initially was focused on digitization, then more on transformation, and now it is more of a reimagination of the business. And I will again reiterate one of the points what one of the guests was saying about is, it is more of knowing the business industry knowledge is must have. Because the reimagination can happen only if you understand the systems, you understand the business. Now coming back to what is the impact of this digital reimagination, and I will try to cover it quickly into the 6 areas, namely. First one is the business models, and few of the examples already has been talked around. The business models in industry itself are changing. Banking industry, if you take, how the payment gateways will get processed because of the digital ways there, social payments, mobile payments, on-the-spot payments where you are into, the entire ecosystem is going to change. So companies have to adapt to the different business models. And consulting has to help in understanding the business depth of that particular industry and how we can transform the different business models. Just to give example, 52% of Fortune 500 companies, which were in 2000, are no more there, right? So if you consider that, that means business models are changing such way that if Google can come for the car, automobile industry, why they cannot come in insurance? Very well managed industry, right? So anybody can come in any industry, and that's the reason this startups will have a lot to play in future. So considering that, business models are going to be disturbed. Second one is business processes, majorly going to change. Just a simple example, how we operate in our enterprises. Like take example, service management or HR processes, the traditional way of approvals and all are going to go away. Internal collaboration is going to give, if you have a challenge, any group has a challenge they put into, any person in organization can give the solutions to it. It is no more a strategy group, it is no more service group, marketing group, focusing only on their areas, all can contribute. So business processes will go through drastic change. Again, consulting has to play a lot bigger role in doing those process changes. Third part, very important impact in industry, which is the products and services. What today's enterprises or organizations offer as a products and services will go through the drastic changes, dramatic changes. The products has to get evolved, and most importantly, they have to get personalized based on what consumers are asking for. It is not now what I want to build as a products, but it is more of what consumers are looking for as a products. And that is where crowdsourcing and all will be playing major role into it. So you need to have a listening to the public, understanding what's pulse around it, and changing the strategy accordingly. The next one is segments. Because of the digital forces, the digital reimagination, you're going to open up newer segments. Otherwise, we would not have reached those things. Somebody was giving an example about India versus Bharat kind of things, right? So what we have in we can reach out to the metro cities, how we can reach to the villages. So we will have the opportunity because of digital to reach out to the extreme corner of India or extreme corner of the world, irrespective of which demographics they belong to. Channels, of course, digital being a main source for the channels, it is going to open up a lot of solutions for opening up new channels for doing the services where consumers or customers have access to. So it's not going to be just web, it is not going to be just laptop or PCs, it can be any device, anywhere. And that is where going to be major shift. And the last one is very important part, what we call is a workplace. Human cloud is going to be very different in tomorrow's world, which is systems of what you call records earlier is going to become now systems of engagements, where internal employees with external public is going to be collaboratively work together, and tomorrow's workplaces are going to be very different. No more managerial bubbles of hierarchy, no more going to be there. It's more of a collaborative team effort. How we work, how we contribute is going to be majorly different. And that is where workplaces are going to go through the major digital reimagination by using these digital 5 forces. So this is, while we are giving the view, one of the example what Manish was referring about was Disney, like what automation has done in Disney kind of world. So what I feel is the consultants are required today to understand any complex business. You take banking, insurance, manufacturing, high-tech, anything you take, and then transform by using these digital 5 forces. But more importantly, you take any common problem, the digital 5 forces can make a difference to it. So I'll just take back from the example what Manish was talking about from Disney, where a lot of crowd comes and they see many things there. Same thing we apply to one of most prestigious temple in India, and I was visiting last week there, and they have almost 1 lakh population coming to, as a pilgrims coming to there for prayers. And there is a wait time of 3 to 4 years. Why not use digital forces to make that time, just like in Disney, your fast pass, bands and other solutions done, may not be that much digital savvy, because remember it is a sensitivity and some other factors are there, but still digital can solve that business problem very effectively on ground level. And that is what today's consultants are required to reimagine any complex problem, how we can solve by using simple but most practical. Believe me, today's world, people are not interested in hyped kind of a consulting. It has to be practical on ground, and one of our guests again was talking about in-depth experience around that is very critical. It has to be, it can be simple. Technology doesn't matter how simple or complex technology you use, but it has to be practically implementable. So coming back to the last section of my discussion, which is consulting, what should be done for digital reimagination point of view. So my strong belief, and some of these things already kind of stated, is that we need to have a lot of depth of the business, what we are trying to solve the problem. We need to put there is another complexity issue comes into, like suppose if you take banking, insurance, any examples, they have huge backlog or huge kind of backbone of complex banking systems. And there is a disruption happening in industry. So shall I run behind that disruption, or shall I manage this what I have in big kind of back-end systems? So this is a major problem. So what happens is consulting has to really match between the complexity and innovation, and how we can really match that together to do the slowly transform to the what is of the future. And most of the energy in today's consultant is going more there. And so that's the reason consultant role in this large digital reimagination program is a lot bigger. It's not 1 month, 2 months. It is a longer period to drive that kind of a digital reimagination implementations in long term. So consulting is going to be the most primary part of basically implementing such kind of a digital reimagination programs. And just to consider few points come into what is consulting? It is attitude, it is skills, it is experience. What is it requires really to acquire such kind of things in a transformation programs or reimagination programs? So I strongly believe the basic fundamental doesn't change. You have to have the basics. You have to have the knowledge of the industry very well, but more of how you apply to solve a practical problem in a simple, humble way is very critical. And one of the very first keynote, it was on design thinking design point of view. So that is going to be core of making it simplified customer experience for what customers are looking for in the market. So consulting has a big role to drive that kind of a digital reimagination programs across the globe. And I feel this is going to be one of the most leading kind of a participation from most complex businesses you take from industries which are normally not touched by digital also will get impacted into. So there will not be a single human being, let me restate, there will not be a single living entity on this earth which will not get impacted by this digital disruption. And that is where the consultants have a big role to play. Thank you, and I will answer the questions.
It's now my distinct pleasure to introduce Mr. Suresh Ramanan, the Managing Principal at ZS Associates. Mr. Ramanan leads the global business technology delivery capabilities of ZS Associates in India. He's actively involved in instituting best-in-class global project delivery methodologies, ensuring overall delivery quality, and developing assets. He has over 20 years of IT consulting experience, including data warehousing, business intelligence, performance management, and analytics for clients across multiple industries. Prior to joining ZS, he was with Cognizant in a leadership role where he worked closely with the life sciences practice to build data warehousing and business intelligence capabilities. Please welcome Mr. Suresh Ramanan.
Ashish talked about a couple of traits of consultants. One is obesity and agility. The third one is PowerPoint. So I can't, I had to jump onto a PowerPoint before I started. But thanks, it's a great session today. Consulting in the area of business disruption is exactly what we're living through. I thought I'm going to focus more on the latter half, which is the business disruption part. And my recommendation would be that every consultant needs to look at all of these and look at the holistic picture. And I themed it as around drivers and thrivers. And there's a specific reason, because as a consultant, what we need to see is what's really driving that need of the client. And part of it is also saying what's thriving in this industry that I can make. We are in a chicken and egg situation today, which is, again, asking the question of whether the business is driving the technology disruption, or is it the technology that is actually driving business disruption? Both are equally valid schools of thoughts, and through the many years, you see a client either asking you for a technology solution, but actually the outcome is intended to be a business problem, or it's the other way around. Either case, I think it doesn't matter, because there is disruption ahead. And like many have spoken, we just have to prepare for this disruption. We have to make sure that we are embracing this as we go ahead. I'll talk about the disruption drivers first. And many of these, as obvious as they seem, there are many drivers, and I'm going to pick up on a few of those that are making the revolution for us. One is the need for speed, which is that everybody now wants everything faster. We had steam engines, we went to aeroplanes, we went to the Concorde, everything is now moving faster and faster, and then we know the broadband also, and the internet part of it, which is just increasing in speed. So and I want my cab faster, so I call Ola cabs. I don't have the time to wait for a cab. So the need for speed is driving a significant part of what is driving the disruption in the industry. The next one is what I call global socialization. We talked about globalization a lot, but there is now this need for the community to come together. The definition of community has changed a lot. And when I talk about the definition of community, it used to be, my family, my village, my city, and now, it's so global right now that I want to be connected across the globe and be able to drive a socialization. And that's also coming from an emotional need to be attached. So as far as you might be, there is a need for connecting with people, and that's actually coming out. And I have my own theory around this, which is, we went from a much more emotionally attached community to something that then went into automation, and you could be talking to a machine, getting your bank balances, and now there's a need now to say, I'm not liking the machine on the other side. Can I actually talk to someone on the other side? So, you created chats, and now there is a small integration of emotion back into that digitalization part. The third one is efficiency and optimization. That's a big driver. So across companies, across industries, everybody is asking for how much can you do within that same minute. And if you did not have many hands and legs, you wouldn't be able to do that. But the other part of it is also coming from cost pressures. Every industry is going through cost pressures, and so the need for optimizing and further optimizing and further optimizing is driving some of these changes. And last but not the least is the millennial generation. I mean, we just cannot ignore the fact that the generation itself has now evolved in such a way that this is very, very atypical of what people used to think and be and do about 20 years ago. So the millennial generation, goal-focused, comfortably connected 24/7. Aon Hewitt actually talked to us about a survey that was done across Asia with the millennials, and it said that on an average, people in Asia, that generation has about 40 network groups. They can network with many, many people at the same time, and for whatever reason, I thought I was a good multitasker. I think I'd fail miserably in this world if I had to multitask on WhatsApp and Facebook at the same time. So these are some of the drivers that are actually causing the change. But now there's the evolution of the industry is actually causing a lot of people to thrive on this change, with the disruption thrivers. And let's see what those look like. We talked about the need for speed, and we are constantly on this move of saying how we need to move further. We talked about about 1950s, the US Department of Telecommunication called dial-up modems at about 110 bits per second. It changed in about 30 years by about 500 times. It became 64 kilobits per second, and then it became 25 megabits per second, which is the 2015 Department of Telecommunication definition of basic broadband, is 25 megabits per second. And that's another 500 times increase in the speed. And this is just home broadband. We don't know how far that will go any further. So the need for speed is being driven by the internet revolution, and further need, and many of our innovation that we are seeing today are actually coming from here. The second one is we are really all on the same page, right? We have China, Japan, US, France, all of the people talking together, and all of the Facebooks and the WhatsApp of the world are discussing the same thing at the same time on the same topic on the same page. So that's one more thriver from the whole disruption, and the global community is actually coming together, the global socialization part of it. The third one, we talked about optimization and efficiency, and for me, the epitome of optimization efficiency comes from this company, UPS. Most of you know of them. United Parcel Service, just phenomenal when it comes to what they do when it comes to optimization efficiency. I have some numbers thrown out there, which are kind of staggering when you see what they do. I don't think we have time for a quiz, but maybe just go through those. 15 trillion is the number of route combinations that are potentially possible for one driver who's going to deliver 25 packages in a day. That's the what they call combinatorial explosion, but that's the number of possible combinations you're working with. 85 million is the number of miles saved by analytics by UPS over the last years. Number of analytic innovations and the number crunching that they do has saved that many number of miles. If every driver in UPS drove 1 additional mile, it would cost UPS 30 million in a year. So that's something that they're wanting to cut down, and they're looking at that. 16 million is the number of deliveries that UPS does in a day. 55,000 is the number of fleet vans they have in the US. 74 pages are there in their best practices manual. It's so critical for them from an efficiency and optimization standpoint that the best practices are adhered to. And last is 30, which I found very intriguing, is the maximum number of inches to move to the next package. So when a driver picks up the first package, he doesn't move more than 30 inches to get to the next package. That's just phenomenal when it comes to how they want to optimize. And then the millennials, you've got all of the millennials now in an entirely different world, thinking about data mining, Mac users, file sharing, and all of the innovation that we're seeing and disruptions that we're seeing are actually driven by the attitude and the capabilities of the millennial generation. I did want to talk about, Avnish said, would you also be able to predict what the industry will look like a few years from today? I have to beg apology because I don't think I'm at that level of genius to say what the industry will look like. But I have a 10,000 feet level postulate, okay? And that postulate says, I don't know if you noticed, but I had my part of it in red, which means that it's not mine, it's a stolen idea. It's stolen from Galileo. Galileo discovered this very simple maths, which said distance is equal to speed into time. All of us hopefully have learned this in our school, if not engineering. Distance is equal to speed into time. And I kind of correlated all the disruptions that have been happening over the years to this one simple equation, which is either reducing or increasing distance, either geographical, emotionally, whatever one of those. It's changing speed or it's changing time. And we've kind of manipulated all our disruptions in some way where the human race is evolving, trying to crunch one of these three. And so these three are definitely contributors. So if any consultant is now looking at, what is the next big disruption, I think maybe think on these lines. But it is not possible without the Galileo behind it. So I do think that there is a human emotion that will, human race has to evolve. And the one enigma for me on that is the time dimension. One thing that we've done is shorten time. But can we ever break the time barrier? So if you think of prediction, the good thing is somebody has actually thought about it, right? Somebody has thought about breaking the time barrier. I don't know when that is going to happen. It is good to watch in a Hollywood movie. But I think we will have to evolve as a human race to get to that point. How much will we evolve? Will we have to live longer to get to that point? The good news is the baby that is going to live for 142 years is already born. So it's the human lifespan has gone ahead much further than what we see. Bad news is most likely none of us in this room are going to see that evolution. Okay, but the good news is that somebody is born now. Maybe somebody is going to see that evolution one day. I do have one guess though, that if somebody has to break that time and dimension today, there is one person I'm thinking in my mind. Thank you. Romba Nandri.
That really was an enthralling discussion on both the drivers and thrivers of disruption in consulting. We thank you once again, sir.
To add to all the great insights, we next have with us esteemed Professor Prem Chandrani. Professor Chandrani has BCom from Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi University, and an MBA from London Business School, UK, and Wharton, USA. He also has the following to his credit. He's a chartered accountant, cost accountant, qualified as CMA from UK. Additionally, he's also certified as CISA from USA. He has a rich work experience of over 30 years in industry and management consulting. Most of it is at C-level. His work experience spans across Australia, Canada, India, Japan, Middle East, UK, and USA. He has handled many consulting conclaves and strategy consulting practice of, and has also handled strategy consulting practice of PricewaterhouseCoopers. I now request our esteemed professor to share his thoughts with us. Thank you.
Right. So my thoughts are only for 2 minutes. Everybody has spoken for 10 or more. And when I look at my watch, I know the time is up and out. So 11:35 is supposed to close. It's already past 11:35. And everything that has to be said has already been said. So I have nothing more to add. Isn't that simple? Right. Well, you know, it's not easy to be the last speaker. As people have been saying earlier, that everything you wanted to say has been said by somebody or the other. Now, that leaves you with very little scope, actually. But, you know, I'll still try my best to see if I can add some little value somewhere, you know, in addition to all that has been said so far. The theme, as we all know, is about business disruptions and what consulting firms can do or should do in this area. And we heard the last, of course, was all about disruptions, you know, drivers and thrivers. But disruption is not new. We all know that. Okay? If you go back and look many, many years ago, even the hunters and gatherers were disrupted by the farmers when farming and agriculture came into place. So disruption is not new. Okay? A few hundred years earlier, we had the Industrial Revolution. Okay, we had the machines coming up, and again, cottage industries and, you know, home industries kind of stopped working, and, you know, disruptions happening there as well. We saw disruption in terms of automobiles, for example, disrupting, you know, animal-driven vehicles, and, you know. So effectively, disruption is something that's always been happening. So why are we talking about today in this consulting conclave? There are two major elements that I think I want to bring to your notice. One is that the disruption is now happening at a much faster pace, okay? And that's an important thing to understand. The time is narrowing. You know, the time that is in which disruptions happen is getting smaller and smaller. A study done by Deloitte some time ago, in fact 2013 to be precise, talked about the fact that nearly 40% of the companies that are in the Fortune top 100 lose their leadership position every 5 years. So that's the change that is happening. You know, it's huge, it's humongous. The other thing